With training camp around the corner, I'm doing player profiles to make sure that I'm ready for this upcoming season. This player profile is of our team's soul, the eldest Wagner, Moritz. Mo if you're nasty. This is the Orlando Magic Nation, your source for all things Orlando Magic on YouTube. For Magic fans, by a Magic fan. I'm Edwin Valentine, and I want to thank you very much for clicking on this video and spending a little bit of time talking Magic with me. You got to do the normal YouTube stuff. You got to hit that like button, share the video, or drop a comment below letting me know if you think Mo's going to have a big comeback season. And lastly, if you're wanting to do so, hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on any content that I produce. Now, for these player profiles, I basically go about them as if I'm scouting the player. So I do a little bit of intel on them just to give you a little bit of a background on their journey going into this upcoming season. I also look at their stats from the past season more specifically, but I also do a little bit of the rest of their career. And then lastly, I go through the film of the last season. And in this one, I added a few from 2 seasons ago just to kind of give a little more understanding on how the pick and roll used to work when we had Joe Ingles on the team. So we're going to start off with the intel. For Moritz Wagner, he's a center. He shoots predominantly with his right hand. He's 6'11 and weighs 245 pounds. He was born on April 26, 1997, in Berlin, Germany. The Magic are going to be going to Germany in January. So hopefully he's back and healthy for that game so he can get all the adulation of the adoring fans. They're actually going to be playing in the arena that the Alba Berlin team plays in, which is the team that he started professionally with. So he played on that team from 2013 to 2015. He started when he was younger than 18, so he played in under 18 tournaments, as well as also making it to the senior club right before he went to university. But in the 5 games of the major tournament there, he scored a total of 48 points on 13 of 34 shooting from two, 1 of 11 for three. And that's not too great there, but 27 total rebounds, 8 assists, 10 steals in the 5 games, and 15 turnovers. So that's something that we're going to talk a little bit about when he was fully professional. And then after his time in Alba Berlin, then he ended up going to the University of Michigan, a Wolverine, for 3 seasons. In those 3 seasons, he played 107 games, averaging about 10 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist per game, 55% shooting, and 39% from three. In his last season with the Wolverines, he took them all the way to the national championship game where they were the runner-ups to Villanova that year. And with the 25th pick in the 2018 draft, Los Angeles Lakers select Moritz Wagner. So he played 1 season with the Lakers. In that 1 season, he played in 43 games, played about 10 minutes per game, scoring 5 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist per game. Then he was part of the 3 team trade that ended up bringing the Lakers Anthony Davis, but instead of going to New Orleans, he was shipped to Washington. So for the Wizards, he played there for 2 seasons. Those were the 2 most chaotic seasons, I'd say, because that's when COVID hit. So in those 2 seasons, he played 70 games, about 17 minutes per game, 8 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist per game. But if you see his stocks started to rise a little, which is a little over 1 stock per game. Then he was part of another 3 team trade that ended up landing him in Boston in March of 2021. The trading deadline was a little later that year because they started the season later because of COVID. So in his 9 games with Boston, he only played 7 minutes ish, 1 point, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Not much to talk about. They ended up waiving him after trading for him, and then the Magic had the foresight to swoop him up, and he's been with the Magic ever since. Luckily, he was able to resurrect his career with us over 241 games so far played for the Magic, averaging 10 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist. in 18 minutes over the course of all those years, shooting 53 or 54% if you round up from the field and 33% from three, but that's increased over time. So to look at his stats from last year, he played about 19 minutes in the 30 games that he played last year, averaging almost 13 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist with 1.2 stocks as well. The main thing that happened last year, I would say, is how many more threes it seemed he was shooting. And if not, it was the better percentage that he shot from three. 36% is an excellent 3-point percentage, especially on the team last year. He's the driving force of our bench in so many ways. And when he went down, obviously the bench scoring went down, but also just this outside threat that we didn't really have throughout the beginning part of the season until really Caleb hit a hot streak later on in the season. So he was our most reliable 3-point shooter for most of the year while he was healthy, of course. That the second line there on the traditional splits line is per 100 possessions. That's what the league is mostly looking at now, and they're not looking at per game stats, they're looking at 100 possessions. And if we look at the advanced splits, the offensive rating while he was on the court was 106.1, and the defensive rating while he was on the court is 107.0. So just like most of the Magic team, unfortunately, last year, he ended up with a net rating of a negative. And this one, his was a negative 0.9. So that wasn't so bad, luckily. Now, offensive rating and defensive rating are team stats. They're not stats for him specifically. It's in that he didn't do anything there. It's while he was on the court, the team gave up 101 points per 100 possession, basically, and that's how that works. If you look at the offensive rebounding percentage while he was on the court, 6.5%. Defensive rebounds, 12.1%. So not super high numbers. The last row there is from the website Cleaning the Glass, and the different colors mean how high or low percentile wise he was for his grouping. So they group players by point guards. So if you only play point guard, you're a point. If you play both point guard and shooting guard, then you're a combo. If you're a shooting guard, small forward, you're a wing. Then if you play both forward positions, you're a forward. And if you play power forward and center, then you're a big. So he is a big because he played center for us throughout the season. So in his 30 games with his 556 minutes, he ended up in the 92nd percentile in usage with 24.1. And usage is if you're the one that shoots the ball or passes it for someone to be able to make it. So he was very involved when he was on the court because he was the driving force again of our bench. His points per shot attempt is in the 84th percentile with a 129.6. His assist percentage is in the 67th percentile at 13.3%. Assistant to usage, because his usage is so high and his assist is not bad at the 67th percentile, but because his usage is so high, the ratio is a little off. So he's in the 32nd percentile at 0.55, and he turned the ball over a bit too much, as you see. Turnover percentage in the 33rd percentile with 15.5%. Now, if we look at the team efficiency in 4 factors, if you haven't seen any of my previous player profiles, I explained it there. So to explain it again for all the newbies, basketball obviously is a difficult game to play. You got to be pretty tall. You got to be very tall. You got to have good hand-eye coordination. You have to have good stamina, be a great athlete, or have an elite hand-eye coordination. When it comes to stats, it's more simple in that you're looking at what kind of shots are you getting, if you're able to control the boards, because if you control the boards, then you end the other team's possessions or you continue your own possessions. Do you turn the ball over so you're not getting quality shots because you're turning the ball over, or you're getting to the free throw line for easy baskets? So they're called, those are what the 4 factors are called. So obviously you're caring about them on offense and defense. So it's kind of like the 8 factors. So if you look at his numbers here, just as many of the Magic players, just because of how poorly we played as a team last year, his numbers are going to be a little down. He's going to be in a negative amount of point differential. There's going to be a lot of negative numbers on the offensive end, but when you see the defensive end, you see that that changes slightly on there, as you can see. So while he was on the court last year, the Orlando Magic scored 108.3 per 100 possessions. So it's only in the 18th percentile of all bigs. No bueno. The effective field goal percentage also is in the 25th percentile at 51.7%. The turnover percentage was in the 11th percentile, 16.6%. Now, when a positive, the offensive rebounding percentage while he was on the court was 75th percentile at 30.3%, and the free throw rate was in the 85th percentile with 21.3. So that's the offense. Obviously, on offense, again, most of the guys on the team really struggled. So, as you saw, other than Tyus's, when Tyus was on a different team, everything was, most of the things were hot, but that was just the way it is for the Magic last year. Now, on defense, as you see, for points per 100 possession, he's in the 81st percentile of bigs with 111.3 per 100 possessions. The Magic defense, the second ranked defense last year, they excelled at taking the ball away. So as you see, the effective field goal percentage on defense was in the 30th percentile with a 55.6% shooting, but the turnover percentage while he was on the court is 98th percentile at 18.1%. He did okay. They did okay on the boards. They were limiting the other team to offensive rebounds, which means they got the defensive rebounds. So they were in the 58th percentile with 27.7%. And the free throw rate, like most guys, you'll see with the Magic that while they were on the court, they fouled way too much. But again, that might be by design because they really wanted to have an aggressive style. So that was in the 32nd percentile with 20.6%. And if we could look at how he scored, now most of the guys in the team so far, is if you've watched the other videos, don't have many categories in which they were in a very positive percentile when it came to those types of possessions. So Moe was one of the exceptions. So in the cutting, he was in the 86th percentile if we round up with 1.49 points per possession when he was cutting. So we'll see that in the film when we go to that. Then when you look at post ups, the Magic really didn't post up very often. That's just that wasn't so much part of their game. But you'll see in the film that he has a wide range of moves, a lot of spinning. Him and Franz are able to do a lot of spin moves and get past their guys to get all the way to the rim. So in the post up, he is in the 71st percentile with 1.07 points per possession, and spot up shooting, which is for his threes. For the he was the one that was wide open, as you'll see on a lot of the film, but he was very good at spotting up, catching, and shooting. So he was in the 81st percentile on that with 1.17 points per possession. So Mo was the driving force of our offense from the bench. And if you have good bench scoring, then that's going to help elevate the team scoring as a whole, and that's going to give you an opportunity to win. So once he went down with the injury, as I called him before, he's the team's soul. So once that left, it was very difficult for them to gather and garner any momentum from the bench unit. It was just like the air was let out of the balloon, unfortunately. So that's why we hope he makes a speedy recovery, because then he's able to bring more life back to the bench, even though I think we have new guys in the bench unit that are definitely going to be elevating themselves after a great summer by some of them playing in Eurobasket. But if we look at the scoring splits, just to continue off on all of the wonderful stats that Mo had last year in his 18.8 minutes, if you see the breakdown of his field goal attempts between 2 point shots and 3 point shots, it was 70-30, but that actually is an increase when it came to 3 point shots. So he is definitely was a new thing in his quiver. He was able to just come out and shoot lights out in the 30 games he played last year. If you look at the percentage of his points, he scored 59% of his points from twos, 21% from threes. So it was definitely a concerted effort for him to shoot more threes, and in the end, that really helped him out. Now, he didn't shoot as many shots from the 2 point range. I don't think it's because Joe Ingles left, but you'll see in some of the film, and I didn't mention it in the slide prior, but he was excellent at pick and rolls 2 seasons ago when he had a ball handler that was able to get him the ball smoothly when he was rolling to the basket. So I added a couple of those in the film just so that you're able to see that something that I talked about in Tyus's player profile, that now Moe has another partner that's going to be able to get him the ball on the roll. So maybe he'll just be able to get downhill instead of having to shoot so many threes. Obviously, it's a great thing, him shooting threes. And if you could continue at 36%, then we're going to be very excited for that. But if he's not able to stay at that level, then at least again, he'd be able to cut and know that there's a true point guard now with the ball, and he's going to be able to get him the ball in the right spots. So if you look at his shooting distance, so at the rim, 71%, it's not bad. You can do a little ticking up there. At 54% in the mid range, but as you see, from 16 feet out to the 3 point line, only three total shots for the entire year. That's not something that was his thing. He's being the most efficient, which is what basketball is now. You're either shooting threes or you're dunking the ball, and he definitely was on that trajectory. So yeah, he shot 75 3 pointers. It's not a record or anything. The year prior, when he played most of the season, he shot more, but this was a higher percentage at 36% from three. Then the shot types, so dunks, hook shots, jump shots. Jump shots, as you saw, were mostly his 3 point shots. So he only shot 13 jump shots that weren't threes, and it was a lot more layups and around the rim. So he was able to be very efficient. Now, not as efficient as he was the year prior, when again he was getting a lot of pick and rolls when he was playing pick and roll with Joe a lot, and they had the Moe Joe working. So now we can have a Mojo with Moe Wagner and Tyus Jones. So maybe we're gonna have Mojo back with us in this upcoming season. So now if we're gonna look through some of his video, we're gonna start off with his 3 point shots. So now here we go. This is his left side. So from the corners, he shot 39%. So he shot 36% overall, 39% from the corners, and from the left corner, it was 41%. So if we could just keep him over on the left, if that's going to be his comfort spot, then he can shoot from there any day. But as you see, there's a lot of times where he's wide open. So here's another one. He relocates from the corner, comes to the elbow here. He's wide open. So this one, as you see, is not a shot that he was as efficient on. He was way more efficient on the corners. But when you're this wide open and there's already somebody in the corner, and Gary Harris here in this one, you got to just take that shot when you're wide open. So even if you miss it, it is what it is. Same thing here. Everybody forgets about him, so he just comes back, goes and hits that one. Again, wide open. So all you have to do is just step, shoot with confidence. Now that's something that Moe is not lacking in any way. Moe definitely has the confidence that he's gonna shoot, shoot, shoot. If only he can give that to some of the other players. That's why I say that for me, he's the soul of the team. So everything would rub off, all of his confidence would rub off on the other guys if he was playing all of last season. Here you go, wide open, just so wide open that there's nothing he could do but shoot, and he shot at a very, very good clip. From the right side, the right corner wasn't as successful. It was about 33%, but you got to keep shooting, especially when you're wide open like that. Is wide open. So that's gonna be something that he will be this year. He's gonna be more wide open just because there's gonna be so much attention with the addition of Desmond and Tyus. There's just gonna be more attention. So there's more ball handlers, more offensive firepower. I think AB is gonna come back with a vengeance this year. We saw Tristan be able to draw some gravity over the course of the Eurobasket. So I think he's going to be wide open a lot. So that's if he's able to keep that jumper going, keep it wet, then keep it going. So we'll see his pump fake, which is a very exaggerated pump fake, and it's I don't know, it's cute that so many people still fall for it. But he did this little pump fake here, and he's strong enough to get those to go with the contact. So again, we see that he likes to pick and roll. He likes to pick and roll, and he's got an array of spin moves to get him open. Here you go. Another spin move, spin move. Keep that pivot foot down. Yeah. See, pick and roll, pretty simple. Straight lane, straight down the lane. Another pick and roll. These are nice passes. So I'm not saying that the guys can't get him the ball in space. It just was so much more fluid with Joe Ingles that hopefully, so here's with Joe here, that Joe would just do different things like that. That was a fake pass down to Jonathan Isaac at the bottom corner there in the right corner. And Joe made it look like he was going to pass it all the way across and then just kind of lightly passes it to Moe. And Moe is able to go in and score that one. Now here's another one. Joe, nice easy one to Moe. Another one around the corner, gets it to him. So not to say again that the guys that he played with last year didn't get him the ball. They got him the ball. He just wasn't as successful on the pick and roll. So I was looking to see what could be the factor there, and having Tyus Jones, I think is going to be great. So go back and watch Tyus's player profile, where I specifically mentioned Moe because I just think it's going to be a match made in heaven. And then we'll be able to have our mojo back. There you go, Joe. So the guys are able to get him. So even in the dunker spot, he's good at finding the locations where guys are not, just so that he can always be in the right place, ready to shoot, ready to finish, especially on 5 outs like that. So that's something that I think is gonna be incorporated way more by the Magic this year. A lot of 5 outs, just because we're gonna have shooters, and even if Goga's in the game now, if Goga shoots anywhere near as well as he shot at Eurobasket, then now even we have Goga that could just stay in the corner there and draw some defense. So he'd be able to do back cuts. He'd be able to just be able to quickly just cut in and be able to get these easy ones at the basket like this one here. The same here, another alley oop from him being in the corner. So that's why you try to, that's obviously you want to hit every one of your shots, but that's why hopefully you shoot a good percentage, because then from then you're able to start making those cuts, because then the defender either has to hard close and you just draw right past them, or they just give that to you and you have your wide open shot. Or if they kind of lazy show, then you're able to still hard cut back door and be able to get nice, easy ones at the basket, which I think the Magic should be really incorporating this upcoming season, just because there's going to be so much more shooting and there's so much more offense on the court that hopefully they're able to just from then move and back cut constantly, get easy ones at the basket. So here's another hard cut from the basket, another cut. So I think this is something that he could just feast off of all season, especially when he's hitting them. This one is more of a dunker spot one. Again, another pick and roll, real slow pick and roll that he gets there. He finishes over them. Another one, long pick and roll. And then he can dribble it himself. As you can see, he could just take it from the 3 point line. He doesn't necessarily need a point guard to get him the ball. He's a crafty guy. He takes that big pump, gets them off their feet. Here's another one. Whee! Big pump, gets Valentunas off his feet, and one there. This one's on Anthony Davis, and one there. There's another big one. One of the highlights of the season. Dunking on people's heads. So Mo can do a little bit of everything when it comes to offense. Nice spin moves. Again, he's able to get that spin move going and finish with his left, which is great. You take the defender out of the play entirely if you shoot with your left when you're on the left side. So for him to just continue to do so is such a great idea. Now this is his rebounding. He's a pretty good offensive rebounder, as we saw in the stats there. He's able to participate that way as well in the offense. So he doesn't only need to get the ball, he'll go and get it as well. Does a good job. And that's the new NBA there, where where you have to show on the perimeter and then run back to try to get that rebound. Now, luckily, a lot of them are 3-point shots, so they're going to be ricocheted and they're going to be long rebounds, so you don't have to run all the way down to the basket. But still, that's something that the big men in the NBA now, that's just their reality. So here's another offensive rebound, just takes it away from J Huff. Doing all that work in advance to rebound. So I think that's something that we hope he continues to do when he comes back. I don't see why he wouldn't. Takes that one away. Now on defense. So we've shown, especially last year. Last year he was in his bag. He had 3-point shots. Now he was hitting in with all regularity. He was able to have all his spin moves. Everything was working for him last year on offense. On the defensive end, he did a great job, and he was actually in the 90th percentile of all bigs in his steals percentage. So that's something that is always going to be something that he's been pretty good at, because he has quick hands. Now his feet are not as quick as his hands or as quick as his mouth. Now, the I would say that those are the things that he can try to work on, be a bit more like Wendell, in that both guys are not going to be the extreme jumpers. They're not going to be skying over to block shots. That's just not really their game, partially due to the athleticism, that they just don't have that vertical leap to just go and swat the shots away. But they can get in the way. So last year he didn't draw as many charges as he did the year prior, but that's something that Mo definitely does, and that's why that's why I call him the soul of the team. There's the heart, to me, is Jalen, and the soul is Mo, because Mo was there prior to Jalen, Franz, Paolo, all that, the big three now. So Mo's kind of was there helping to lay the foundation. So for me, what he needs to continue to improve on for defensive purposes is positioning. So it doesn't have to be that he's going to go and block the shots, but he can definitely just be in the right place and kind of obstruct. And I think that's the thing that he needs to continue to work on. He's gotten way better, and he cares, and he works hard at his craft, and he's been incorporated into the Magic philosophy. So that is definitely something that he has worked on. It's just something that he needs to continue to work on and continue to improve, because we see that he has very good hands, and he's able to steal the ball, have a lot of deflections. These are all things that he brings to the table. His blocks are never going to be very, very high, but if he can bring his defensive field goal percentage down a bit, just by, again, being there, hands up, being obstruction, you don't have to slide under to draw the charge all the time. You can slide over and just be tall. Like, you're a big guy, so just be tall, put your hands up, and hopefully you're going to be able to obstruct the guy enough that they miss the shot, and brings down their defensive field goals made against you and against the team as a whole. So that's something that he needs to work on. The offensive thing to work on for him is the turnovers. So he has 1.8 assists, I think, per game, and his turnovers are 1.6. So he's neutral when it comes to assist to turnover ratio. And as we saw in the cleaning the glass stats, that his turnover percentage is pretty high. So that's something that he can clean up there. And a lot of those are going to be travels. They're going to be offensive fouls. They're going to be things like that. He's not normally just with the ball, just throwing it away to the other team. That's not what he normally does. It's normally in other methods, but all of that stuff counts. So he needs to be able to keep his turnovers down while continuing to be aggressive and be that person that's going to make those 3 or 4 spin moves and get to the basket. Now, keep that pivot foot down so it's not a travel, but I think that's the thing on offense that he would need to work on the most. It's that, and of course, hopefully keeping that 3-point shot just as wet as it was last year, because we're going to have better 3-point shooting as a team just because of statistical regression. That's just the reality of the situation. We're going to shoot better because I don't think we could shoot any worse. It's rare that you shoot so poorly that they have to look back in record books and be like, "Oh, it's been the worst in the last 7 years." I'm like, that's not good. So anyway, so those are the two things. Here we're going to see his quick hands in action and his anticipation. I think it's also because he sees the offense so well that he's able to anticipate on defense. And while he's not the fleetest of foot, he's still able to anticipate and has really good hands. That's what his calling card is on defense. But see, that one was a good one. Just positioning there, and he was able to get that ball. Again, positioning and obstruct. That's all we're going to ask of him is really to do that, is just to compete. And that's something that he does, obviously. He, he does a really good job of keeping everybody honest as well, blitzing the point guards there. So that's the best thing about Mo on defense is his quick hands. So yeah, that's all about Mo. Now, obviously I didn't really talk about his injury. I mentioned his 30 games and only playing 30 games last year, but he's likely not going to start the season. He won't be back till probably late December, early January. So again, we're going to be making that trip to Berlin in January. So hopefully he's active by then so that he can play in that game. And that's got to be a dream come true to play an NBA game in your hometown. I think that's going to be something that'll be a very cool thing for him and for Franz because they're from Berlin. Tristan is German, not from Berlin, so I'm sure he's going to have plenty of people in town still, and he's going to be very excited to be playing there as well. So, for Mo, as we come back, the fingers are crossed that he's able to come back as soon as possible to continue what he was doing last year offensively. In the video that I did about the who's going to be the sixth man of the year for the Magic this year, that doesn't mean who's going to be the first off the bench. That doesn't mean who's really going to play the most minutes. It's really just the MVP of the bench. And Mo 100% was the MVP of the bench, even though he only played 30 games, because we can see how much the team was affected when he was out due to injury. So let's see if he's going to be able to make it back to back years where he's the MVP and maybe back years. He's the MVP off the bench because he is the stalwart off the bench. He's the one that comes in. He's instant offense, and he brings that energy and he brings that attention and he brings that effort that's very contagious to the rest of the team. So hopefully he comes back better than ever, plus a higher percentage from 3-point land. That wouldn't hurt anybody. I don't think anybody would be super upset by that. But if he doesn't, and if he keeps it at 36%, then again, that's a very good number. It's higher than league average, and we'll take that all day, every day. But the idea is for him to play, I would say, about 45, 50 games if he's able to play that and be ready for playoff time so that he can pester people in the playoffs. I think that's going to be a very successful year for him this upcoming season. So, what do you think about Mo's performance last year? What do you think he's going to do this year? Drop a comment down below. And again, do the rest of the YouTube things. Hit that like, share the video, and if you want to do so, subscribe so that you don't miss out on any content that I produce, as well as joining the Orlando Magic Nation community. So I want to thank you very much for clicking on this video, and I hope you're having a great day.